Good morning, welcome to SouthernCrossGO. My name is Grant. Now today we'll be talking about leasing in Indonesia. Now either leasing land or leasing a villa for long-term stay. So let's get on with that. Okay, so you're retiring, you want to live in Indonesia, you want to live in Bali. You've been here many times and you're thinking about taking out a long-term lease. Now visas are a completely different issue. I've got another video, I'll leave a end card up there for that video on setting up in retirement, but today's video is all about leasing. So first up, really what you've got to do is find what you want to lease. So there's many different groups on Facebook renting and things like that, Facebook groups to search. There's real estates. Now don't forget, real estates, they work on commission, and a lot of them are just doing holiday rentals, but if you ask them, have a completely different section just for long-term leasing. But if you can, I suggest you find a private lease with a private owner, because that's where you're going to get a better deal. There's no hidden costs, there's no commissions to real estates and things like that. But doing this can be a little bit tricky. So I suggest take your time. Look around, don't just come in, lease the first thing you see, because normally when you buy something or whatever, you always find something cheaper and better not long after. So take your time, look around and try and find yourself the exact property that you'd like to lease. Okay, so you found your dream little villa, your little room or whatever, or house that you want to lease long term in Bali, and now what you need to do is find a decent notarist. Now I'd really research this. Make sure it's a government registered and accredited notarist, and check out reviews, check out their website, check out people, like maybe your friends have used a notarist before and they've had no trouble. We'll go and talk to them. But this is one thing that I'd really research. So when you take a lease, it's not as easy as just go and sign some papers with the owner and you're leased it. What you want to do is make sure that that notarist actually checks where the property is from, who owns it, really owns it, because you could be just leasing another lease off someone else. Now a lot of people do that these days. They're coming over, they're leasing, and then they want to get rid of their lease, so they try to sublease it out again. So what you've got to do is make sure that your notarist checks. Now what they've got to have is the owner that you're renting off is have the hak milik. This is the freehold document that proves that they actually own it and it's actually in their name, because like anywhere in the world there's scams and there's all sorts of things going on. So make sure that the property that you're leasing is actually the people's name on it, that who you're leasing off, because a lot of the time people are just leasing other people's properties and stealing the money. So make sure there is a government office in Denpasar where you can actually go and check land titles, but this is really the job of your notarist, and they should be doing this anyway. So make sure they've got a hak milik. Now if they haven't, and it is a leasehold property and you're going to sublease it out again, make sure that the owner that the original leaseholder has got knows what's going on. Make sure you contact him and ask and find out, to get your notarist to check this. They're notarist lawyers, it's their job to check that the land is able to be subleased out into a different name. And in this case, if it's a long-term lease, you'd be better off getting a whole new lease set up with the owner, instead of just a lease from the person who's already leased it. And that way you're secure with the owner and nothing can happen that way. Like the owner can't come along later and say, well, this isn't yours, I leased it to someone else. So make sure you get your notarist to check everything. So if they are an elderly couple too, say you're renting off a 70-year-old man or something like that, you know, like he could die at any time, make sure there's an option in there that their family and the benefactors are going to honour the lease. Because so many people, when someone dies, the children just come along and throw them out and they lose their lease. So make sure you check all these things before you lease. Now there's like a real estate boom and shortage and whatever, you know, like real estate now isn't really cheap. Before COVID you could easily rent for 100 million a year, like $10,000 a year, a beautiful little villa with a swimming pool and that. But now the average price is like double that, 20,000. Now if you're getting directly through the owner, you'll get a better price. If you're doing through an agent, you'll definitely be a bit more expensive. So really look into what you're doing. Like in Australia now, if you're paying $500 a week rent, it's $2,000 a month, which is about 20 million. So sort of if you're coming over to retire, you really want to look on what you can afford, because these days it's becoming more and more expensive all the time, and it's really, you know, not that really cheap destination now to live, and living costs is very cheap here. Yes, but accommodation is about the most expensive thing that you'll pay. So if you're going to take a 10-year lease, even for $10,000, that's $100,000 that you're putting out up front. So, like, make sure you even pay like couple $100 to get a lawyer to check over the contracts as well. Because even though this is the notarist's job to do all these checking, sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes it pays off just to get it checked over again by a lawyer to make sure everything is legal, all the dots and the T's are crossed, because in the end you don't want to be in your villa for 6 months and have someone come around and throw you out. There's a big problem here at the moment, and the government's really starting to check up on the foreign investment, people leasing and then subleasing out villas for profit. It's sort of class as working, so they're cracking down on that. So make sure if you're coming here and renting a long-term lease off a Russian or something, but you want to check out everything. You want to deal through the owner of that lease, not with that person, you know, because anything could happen. It's not really cheap now. The prices are up since COVID, about, you know, anything from 40 to 100% up, the prices on everything. So it's not really cheap here anymore. Now, if you're a single man, just alone, yes, you can just rent a little room and you don't even have to lease anything. You can just pay monthly. So no, but if you want definitely a secured long-term spot, make sure you check it all out properly and get a proper notarist and a proper lawyer to check everything out. Okay, so my wife Yuli, she worked for Elders Real Estate Australia here in Bali for many years, so she knows all the ins and outs of contracts, leasing, and the right way to do it legally and properly. And to make sure you do everything legally, because if you don't, it could fall back on you. And you know, if there's any questions that you'd like to know about this topic, leave it in the comments. Now we'll answer the comments. If I get enough people interested in this, we can always do a live one day and with my wife, and any questions you'd like to ask about leasing or renting legally, she knows all the legal stuff, everything that goes on here in Indonesia. So okay, so I hope this could help just a little bit. If there's any questions on it, yeah, just leave it in the comments, I'll answer the questions. Anyway, if you like this video, you know the drill, thumbs up and all that. I'll see you on the next one.